The American government continues to look for Edward Snowden. It turns out that he might not even be in Hong Kong at this point. He could be in Russia, and that's kind of destroying our relations with China and Russia, and possibly Ecuador. Let's take a look at the video.
Well, meanwhile, tonight we are following more twists in the search for accused spy Edward Snowden.
The question now, will Edward Snowden be on Aeroflot tonight to Havana? With the help of WikiLeaks, Snowden was booked on a morning flight to Cuba from Moscow's international airport. He had even reportedly checked in twice as reporters rushed to get seats on the same flight. Alas, as the Associated Press reporter tweeted out this picture, Snowden appears to have been a no-show, his assigned seat empty. Journalists were left to wonder if he was somehow hidden on board. While it remains tonight unclear exactly where Edward Snowden is, most likely scenario is that the 29-year-old will seek refuge in Ecuador, the country housing WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in its embassy in London.
Usually when you're on the run from the American government, you're not going to book a flight with your name. So I'm amazed at like this. And check in twice. Like, I love how these journalists and the American politicians are like, what? He wasn't on the flight? No, he's not going to be on the flight. It's going to be a little more difficult than that. But anyway, Senator Kerry is really annoyed with Russia because they feel like Russia is hiding Edward Snowden. Vladimir Putin is like, whatever, we don't have any extradition agreement with you guys, so we don't have to hand him over. But he's not confirming that they have Snowden. So essentially, Putin is not Putin out. He refuses to do so. I've now used that joke like 25 times. I know. But Julianna, first question goes to you, and it has to do with distraction. Do you feel like this manhunt for Snowden is distracting us from the way our privacy is being violated right now?
Absolutely. And he's like put a personal face, and now it's about character assassination of this guy, and does he have an education, and blah, blah, blah. And we've forgotten that like he's a private contractor, and our work, all of our information and keeping us safe as a national security has been contracted out to these private individuals. And I mean, that is the main issue, and thank God, the point is talking about that, because everyone's talking about, and also, why doesn't he take a boat? Does everyone have to fly? I mean, I know Moscow's pretty landlocked, but he could, no one would look for him if he snuck into like some cargo vessel with hot pants from China to, South America.
Sounds like you're aiding him now.
I know.
Now
you're an aider and a better, and now you're going to be,
I'm the better. Well, it was a good idea. If he does it,
all right, so Ryan, what were your thoughts when this story first broke? Like, were you worried about your privacy being violated, or were you more worried that he was a threat to national security?
I was worried about my privacy. When I first heard, I was like, yeah. Because, I mean, I come from maybe a conspiracy theory background. So when some conspiracy theories can be validated, it's like, oh, okay, see, this isn't such a conspiracy anymore. It's happening. And then when you have friends say, well, I've got nothing to hide, it's like, well, you're supposed to be educated, and you're saying, I've got nothing to hide, so I don't care. It's like, essentially they're saying, I'm not hiding a Jewish person in my attic, so what do I care if the Nazis come by my house? I mean, that might be an extreme example, but I was happy that someone blew the whistle. And when the country that prides itself on the First Amendment is now, it's like a witch hunt for this guy. With guilty before, proven innocent.
That's the most ironic part of this whole entire thing, right? And also, I think that it says something about our country in general when something really important happens, or can often be considered to be complicated, whether it's this issue or even an election or even a complicated election issue. People want to go to what they can relate to, which is the personal, like the girlfriend, or is this guy a narcissist, or what because they don't want to wrap their mind around the actual issue, which is, our civil liberties and what is really happening. But we do this every single time. We create this soap opera so we can try and understand what's happening, but we don't want to really understand what is happening.
Let me just respond to people who make the argument that they have nothing to hide. Here's what the reality is. Every single person on this planet has something to hide. I don't care what anyone says. There's something embarrassing, whether it's an embarrassing email or an affair that you had.
Tell hers. We've all come together.
Here's the reality, okay? I've been on the internet since I was in middle school. Who knows what kind of emails I've put out there? Who knows what kind of pictures I've taken?
God.
You know what I mean? And I haven't taken any naked pictures or anything like that. But you're a kid and you grew up on the internet and you said stupid things, you wrote stupid things. Everyone has something to hide. Okay? And if the government really wants to go after you, they will find something. They could easily take it out of context. I mean, look what happened to Elliot Spitzer. I mean, what Weiner did got him in trouble because he made a mistake with social media, right? But everyone has something, whether it's a skeleton in their closet or whatever.
I'm just gonna come clean. I had a perm till I was 18. It's out there. It's out there.
Yeah.
It wasn't real curls. It was a perm.
I still have a perm at 36. At 36, I haven't let go of the perm.
I just think that
It looks great, by the
the
way.
reason that it frightens me that so many people in the country don't care about their privacies, because to me that suggests they don't understand what's going on in our country. So, I mean, this crackdown is my understanding is that this crackdown is basically so that when political dissidents step forward, they're easy to find, they're easy to crack down, they're easy to publicly shame. I mean, I don't care if you're like picking your nose or whatever. Like we see with the Amanda Bynes story, people will jump on and character assassinate. So, I mean, there's people who really are against hydraulic fracturing. There's people who are really against this Keystone pipeline, and they're taking to the streets and they're doing really important work, and the government now knows everywhere that they are. They know all of their information. They know everything about them. And I think that's really dangerous, especially as corporations continue, to get more and more power and just kind of have a free-for-all out there. And it's frightening to me that so many people don't realize that that's the situation that we're in politically now. And so they think, oh, well, that's okay. Maybe they don't ever see themselves as wanting to go out and, protect, like, against the Keystone pipeline, which is way somewhere far away. But things are happening in people's backyards. And you never know who's going to turn out to be the next activist, the next, Cindy Sheehan, the next whatever.
That's a great point, because essentially what's happening now is intimidation. If you are a journalist, or you want to be a journalist, and you want to be a muckraker, or you want to do something that really exposes government hypocrisy or government wrongdoing, if you know that the government is looking into your private personal information, you're going to be much less likely to go after authority, right? And after Michael Hastings' death, there was a lot of conspiracy theories out there. There were a lot of conspiracy theories out there. And I'm not supporting them. I'm not confirming them or legitimizing them. But I would say that it's totally understandable as to why people would have those conspiracy theories, considering the fact that Michael Hastings constantly questioned authority. And, to your point about political activism, you're absolutely right. When Occupy protesters were, protesting, downtown New York and doing their thing, I mean, you had government officials contacting social media networks like Twitter asking for the private information of these protesters. Why were they doing that?
Yeah.
It was a form of intimidation. And that is not what democracy is supposed to stand for.